Welcome to You Can Call Me Goddess because you're so much more than a queen. My name is Manouk Vink. I am a trained intuitive energy healer specialized in transforming your body and your life. In this podcast, we are going to be diving into everything to unlock the goddess that you are within you. Think of it as the ultimate glow up from the inside out. It's time to unlock your power. It's time to unlock your magic. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of the You Can Call Me Goddess podcast. And in today's episode, something interesting came through. I was like, what shall we talk about on today's podcast? And so I sat with it. I asked for maybe some guidance, maybe like, what do you guys need to hear? What do you guys need to work through? And just right about when I was about to do the podcast, I had some ideas in mind, but it came through that one of the things that we should discuss in the podcast today was the concept of obstacles and how obstacles are actually the only reason you are growing, and that obstacles are actually something to be incredibly grateful for. So I want to dive into this topic because I'm sure you all have that feeling where you feel like you're getting obstacles thrown at you like every single day, or every time you're like, oh my God, now I just wish there was a little less that I had to work through. There was a little less of an obstacle course I had to battle through to get where I want to be. And I think we all recognize that feeling. I for sure have been through the obstacle course and thought, I need a break. When can I catch a break, right? But what if we could shift the perspective on obstacles, right? What if we could change the narrative on them? And what if we could be incredibly grateful for these obstacles and see them as actually a sign that you are growing in the right direction? Because I want you to start thinking about every time you have encountered an obstacle, or every time you have struggled with something, like, for example, a difficult relationship, right? If that difficult relationship wasn't difficult and it was all rainbows and sunshine, why do I keep doing this? Sunshine, then how would you have evolved as a person, right? Like, would that have allowed you to grow? Or do you feel like you would have kind of stayed where you are? Can you look at that obstacle of that difficult relationship that you went through, maybe even traumatic relationship that you went through, and can you see how that obstacle has actually allowed you to step into the person that you are today? And I'm sure as I'm saying this to you now, you will start recognizing and realizing, hey, actually, that obstacle made me into a stronger, better version of myself, right? And when you're going through the obstacle, it is a lot harder to see it that way. But when you come out on the other end, a lot of us say, not all, but a lot of us say, well, I'm actually incredibly grateful that that happened, because if that didn't happen, then I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't do what I'm doing now, right? So if I look at my past, for example, if I look at all the obstacles that I have gone through and all the difficulties and all the trials and tribulations that I've gone through, if I didn't have any of those, I wouldn't have any stories to tell you. I wouldn't have grown into the person, the woman that I am today, because how would I have grown? Like, can somebody think of a way that you grow without obstacles? I want you to think about it. Like, what if everything went perfectly? So I had an amazing childhood. Which I did. I had an amazing childhood, but there were no difficulties. There was no traumatic moments, no difficulties with my parents. I didn't have to move. Everything was comfortable. And even when I did move, it was all easy breezy. All my relationships were easy. I always loved my body. I always loved myself. Everything that I wanted to go after, I succeeded at, which I did in retrospect. But can you look at it that way? And can you think of look at your life and think about all the difficulties that you've been through, everything that you struggled with, everything that you wish never happened. I don't know if you still do. If you don't, if you can look back at those obstacles and be grateful for them, then you're already at the next level of this. You're already realizing how beneficial and how beautiful obstacles actually are, right? And I know, like, when you're in it, you're like, F this, fuck this, like, I don't want to do this anymore. But right after, you're like, and you're on the other end, you feel so happy for having achieved that, right? So let's equate it to, I've thought about this. So I spoke to my members in the membership, what was it, last week? I think last week we had a call and we discussed this concept of like, what if I were to give you today, right now, the body of your dreams, right? Or the amount of money that you've been after your whole entire life, right? Like, what if I gave that to you right now? What would you do? And a lot of us at that moment, when we hear that, we're like, first we kind of think, oh, that would be nice. But then also part of me, at least part of me, I don't know about you, but part of me goes, oh yeah, well, then what, right? Kind of like, okay, then I have the money and I have the body, and then what would I do, right? Well, honestly, first instinct with that, like if I got a sum of money, I would probably still want to put the same amount of effort into my business. I would probably still do X, Y, and Z. With the body, I think you would still be consistent in the things that you're doing now, or you would like still want to work through that, because just getting what you want won't get you the feeling that you desire, right? And that's what obstacles are actually for. Obstacles are for growth. And without the obstacle, with it just being thrown into your lap, then what have you accomplished? What have you achieved, right? That's part of that equation. That is part of that, like, okay, but now what? Like, what do I do next? Like, how does that make me accelerate or a better person? Or how do I like benefit people? And then when you go through those emotions and you realize that you achieved that, there were no obstacles, it was there, you realize that it wasn't actually that you were after. It was something different that you were after. And again, I know we're going to go back to the feeling, because that's what it all ties back into. A lot of the time, that feeling of validation, of accomplishment, of growth, right? We want to be here for a reason, because if you're here and you have everything that you desire, then what are you here for? And that comes down to our soul, right? Our soul is here for a reason. There is a reason we are here. And if we feel like we can't fulfill that soul path, soul pull, then kind of everything sort of like goes out the window. And we may not know that on a surface level, but when you go deep down into what you desire, you start realizing that. You start realizing it's not the end goal. Yes, it is the end goal that you want, but maybe it's the end goal you have in mind isn't actually the end goal that you desire. It's something totally different, right? It's that sense of strength, that sense of accomplishment, that sense of I did this, that sense of I can help other people, that sense of putting something down. So if I were to win the lottery tomorrow, does that mean I would stop my business and just go live my life? Well, part of me thinks maybe, but then I know for a fact, because I know who I am, I would still want to I would put that money into my business and make it grow more. I would try to reach more people, because for me right now, my highest value is my business. So think of what your highest value is, and what if you had it tomorrow? What is it that you would want? Like, what would that make you feel like? Guys, I'm so sorry. My dog is literally like barking in the background. I'm going to go see if he stops. I don't know if you hear it, but there's literally like, a Saint Bernard in the background, and he is always going nuts as soon as that dog is outside. Speaking of obstacles, my podcast is putting an obstacle in my way right now to overcome it. So this also kind of like ties into, hold on a second. Let me see if I can stop this. Okay, so we're back after a lot of barking. Marvel is now in the podcast room with me. So hopefully we've solved that problem, that reflection. Well, maybe not solve the reflection, but anyways, so we could go into this in this moment right now. I am frustrated, right? That my dog is barking while I'm doing a podcast, but I can also take this opportunity and be grateful for him showing me an obstacle that I need to work through and then navigating how I would handle that inside my podcast or while I'm doing a live Q&A or a webinar. I can be grateful for him showing me that, I can navigate my way around this. Or also, if you go into the reflective component, which I think I'm going to do a podcast on very soon, we're going to dive into that, or inside the free membership, I'm going to do a whole series on that. I already dove into some of these topics. But when it comes to the reflective component, your dogs, your environment, everything is reflecting to you where there is an emotional imbalance. So I could, instead of being frustrated with the situation, I could be grateful for the fact that Marvel is showing me of an emotional imbalance right now. So I could be grateful for that and see how that is showing me to grow. So that is what obstacles are here for. So obstacles are here literally to get us to grow. So when you're going through a tough time and you feel like everything is piling on and you can't breathe, what starts happening is you start getting frustrated, right? You start getting frustrated with everything that is going on. You get frustrated with nothing working out. You get frustrated that, everything is working against you. But there are two perspectives. Well, there's actually a couple of perspectives on this. And now I also have, literally, this podcast is showing everybody all my obstacles as I have something in my eye. Live demonstration of obstacles and reflections for you. So as you are working through this, these obstacles are showing up. You can look at it in multiple ways. So basically, one way, let me think about this because I just had it. But one way, for example, is when you encounter multiple obstacles, you can see it as actually this is a moment that you're gonna break through. So you all know the saying, like the breakdown before the breakthrough, right? Well, that is what obstacles do. So when obstacles are piling on, a lot of the time that is a sign that it is time for you to now accelerate and overcome and grow. Because when you overcome those obstacles and you get out on the other end of it, you become a stronger, better version of yourself because you've learned to handle and deal with these situations. And for that reason, you had to probably soul search, you probably had to dig deep, you had to work through some imbalances and blocks to get out on the other end. When I look at my life journey, even if I look at myself 2 years ago, I have already overcome so many obstacles in those 2 years, personally, with how I view myself, with my business, with my body, with my relationship, with so many things. And if I hadn't had those obstacles in place, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be as emotionally balanced through so many things that I am now. I wouldn't have grown into the person that I am. I wouldn't have ended up doing the things that I'm doing today. I wouldn't have ended up becoming a healer or an intuitive, or I would have never started working as a personal trainer and working with people, helping them tap into their, their strongest version of themselves, their goddess-like version of themselves. Like if you look at my entire life story, and I'm sure you can do the same, when I was 7 years old, I developed very severe OCD. Like from that moment onward, and that leading me to working through that obstacle and wanting to heal the OCD and trying to figure out where that came from led me to eventually studying psychology because I wanted to figure out how all of that worked. And if I didn't have the obstacle of having OCD, I would have never gone to go study psychology to figure out what was going on. And then I would have never gone and also struggled because of OCD. I would have never gone and struggled with my body image and worked through all of that. And that would have never led me to eventually wanting to work in fitness, and then eventually also getting to a point of, hey, I know I'm doing all the physical actions, I'm doing everything right. Where am I blocking? And then eventually becoming a trained intuitive and a healer and always wanting to work with energies and things like that. It's the obstacles, it's the struggles in life, it's things like this that start driving and moving you towards your growth, towards the next level. So now every single time you are going through an obstacle or a struggle, I want you to start thinking, how is this going to upgrade my life? How is this going to bring me to the next level? Because that is what the obstacle is trying to do. It's trying to bring you to the next level. It's trying to get you to upgrade, to up level. I mean, I was speaking about it today where I was talking to my partner and I was like, yeah, you got to look at it because, some people still struggle grasping this, because when you're going through the thick of it and you're not seeing the results, right? That's another thing. If you're not seeing the results of your hard labor and you're not seeing the change as fast as possible, then you think you're not getting what you are working for, right? But you can't see it because you're not seeing what you're actually getting from the universe. Because sometimes you'll get those obstacles to get you more aligned with what you want to achieve, because once you overcome that hurdle, you get to go to the next level. So if you look at it like a game, right? This is the analogy I use. Every time you want to upgrade or up level in that game, you have to fight another boss, right? You have to, not that I'm much of a gamer, but that's what I've seen with games and with games that I've played. Like, you have to overcome another obstacle to up level, to upgrade, fight the other boss to be able to get to the next end of the game or the next barrier of the game. Because with that, you gain powers, you gain more capabilities, you gain more confidence, you gain more strength, and then you can move on to the next thing. So do you see how obstacles are literally you up leveling? I mean, then if you look at it from the start position, when you look at everything you want to achieve in your life, right? When you think of everything that you desire, everything that you're striving for, and you think of your limiting beliefs, what is it that gets you to the point of wanting to break through those limiting beliefs? Because if, for example, I am sitting in my room and I have this limiting belief of not being good enough, right? And I'm just sitting in my room, I can happily sit in my room and feel not good enough. Well, it won't be happy. But first of all, nothing's going to amplify that other than my room, right? There's probably going to be happening something there. But I'll just sit with it there, right? But when you go out into the world and that belief gets amplified and amplified and amplified, like someone telling you, like, you're not getting the job that you wanted, your sister or your partner making a comment about how you're dressed or what you're doing, your parents breathing down your neck about something that you want to achieve, a friend making a comment towards you, that keeps amplifying that belief of not being good enough. That keeps happening until at some point it reaches a point where your soul self knows that it's not the truth. And so these obstacles and these hurdles and these things that are being thrown your way consistently, constantly, it gets to a point for most of us where the last person says to you something that triggers you, and that's another obstacle, or you face another obstacle. So let me break it down a little easier. So for example, right, you're in the dating world. I know we spoke about rejection like last week, but you're in the dating world and you're dating these guys, and constantly you're facing the same problem with these guys over and over and over again. You get to a point where you're like, I'm so sick of this. I can't do this anymore. And so what starts happening, you start working on yourself. You start focusing on yourself. You start trying to see why something like this is happening, or even with like a job you're trying to achieve. And it's like, why is this not working? Why am I not getting what I want to achieve? it has to bring you to like a breaking point where you're like, okay, I've had enough of this. I'm going to prove to myself that the opposite is true, that I can have a successful relationship, or that I am good enough, or that I am successful enough. You get to that breaking point, and I know that I don't know, I've had that multiple times where I was like, I'm going to show myself that I can do this. I know that I can do this because the beliefs that I have are not actually aligned with my soul, right? But maybe you don't know that on a deeper level, but that's what happens. Your soul goes, "Hey, this isn't right." This is like your internal beliefs is like deep down, you know that the limiting beliefs that you're telling yourself are not correct. So then that's when you hit that breaking point and you go, you know what? I'm going to do everything in my power to fix this, to heal this, to up level. So when the obstacles get to a certain point or a certain degree where you've had enough, that's when you start breaking that cycle, or you start working through those obstacles. And imagine if you didn't have those obstacles, you wouldn't get to that breaking point. You wouldn't try to fix what's going on, right? So for me and my business, for example, when I was working so hard, or even fitness, when I was trying to achieve the results that I wanted, I worked, you get to a point where you're like, why is this so hard? It shouldn't be this hard. I need to figure out what is stopping me from achieving what I want to achieve. And then you start realizing that it's something internal, and then you work on that obstacle and you get over that hurdle. And after you get over that obstacle and that hurdle, guess what? You've become a stronger, better version of yourself. And if you want to connect it to fitness, it's the same thing. So if you think about I mentioned this before in probably one of the fitness podcasts, when we were more diving into those topics. And even in my membership, we talk about this. When you're training and you hit failure, that is a good thing. That shows you that you've pushed yourselves to the limit, and now you need to overcome this and then get stronger from that. So you want to push yourself to that limit so that you can then grow and excel and gain more muscle, right? Or gain more strength. And that's the same thing with obstacles and the universe and everything in your life. So it's like you hit a wall. Okay, so what do we do next to break through that wall or move around that wall and change our perspective? And without hitting a wall or without having these obstacles thrown at you, that wouldn't happen. So one of the most powerful tools that you can have in your toolbox is literally being able to see the balance in absolutely everything, because the universe is balanced. That is literally a law. Everything that has good has bad in it. Everything that has bad has good in it. So when you look at these obstacles, next time you go into an obstacle, I want you to start thinking about, okay, what is good about this happening to me right now? So for example, let me see an example. So for example, taxes are way higher than you expected, right? So what could be the good in that? The good in that could be, depending on where the taxes are coming from, you had a successful month. So that shows you that you actually did way better than you expected. It shows you, if you start learning about the reflections around money, you start realizing that could be a sign you're getting an unexpected amount of money you need to pay. That shows you that there's still some shifting with your money energy that you need to do. So somewhere you are not paying yourself enough. So that goes deeper into the reflections, which we'll get into in one of the podcasts even deeper as well. And also we dive into more into some of the programs and the series. I think I'll go into that a little bit more as well. But just to give you guys an example, when you start understanding reflections, you can start seeing, oh, this is the universe telling me that I'm not paying myself enough in an area of like in one or more areas, right? So everything is always communicating something. But can you also see the benefit in like high taxes? I'm even struggling to see the benefit in high taxes, but it could just be like, oh yeah, this is showing me an imbalance somewhere. Oh, this is showing me that I'm actually earning way more than I expected. This is going to to show like this is all going to the government and the government is allowing me to live the life that I'm living now. So try to balance that feeling out. So if I didn't pay these high taxes, I wouldn't be in the spot that I am today. Some people, there we go, we're getting somewhere. Some people don't even have the money to pay the taxes that I do. So this is showing me that I'm abundant enough that to pay the taxes that I have right now. So you see, I'm even using one that's difficult for me because that's a highly like difficult topic for me when it comes to finances. I've been working on this for years and years and years. I sometimes still struggle with that. So you're seeing me work through that obstacle, or an obstacle in your relationship. You know, you're constantly encountering it. The thing is, what starts happening if you don't tackle the obstacle in your relationship, what starts happening, it will just start popping up in other areas of life, because that's how the universe works. The universe wants you to overcome the obstacle. If you try to ignore the obstacle starts popping up in other areas of life. And this is kind of part of this is basically what reflections do as well. Reflections are there for you to grow. And reflections are basically partially these obstacles that are these obstacles that are being shown to you or given to you so that you can overcome them, so that you can up level. And so when you're getting more of these obstacles and these reflections thrown at you, that means you are ready to take them on. You can start seeing it also as like a compliment, like, oh my God, my soul must be ready to take this on, which means I am close to the brink of a breakthrough, which means it is time for me to upgrade and up level. And when I get out on the other end of these obstacles and of these difficulties, that means that I've upgraded and I've up leveled. And after that, you achieve an even better life. You know how to handle more difficulties. If you don't go through the thick of it or through the obstacles, then guess what? You won't have the tools or the experience to do certain things. It's like, can we think of an example? For example, if you go skiing for the first time, the way you get better at skiing, for example, is by falling, is by going through difficult trails, is by, going through difficulties so that next time you know how to handle them. And that makes you a pro. That gives you mastery when you figure out how to handle these obstacles. And without these obstacles, you don't become a master at that. And you also don't want to push yourself anymore. I mean, imagine your entire life without any obstacles. I mean, it sounds like bliss partially, but also, what does that mean for us, for humanity? Like, can you imagine a society where nobody went through any obstacles? It would kind of just be like, okay, what do you do, right? How do you grow? Where do stories come? Like, think of soap operas. We love people overcome obstacles. We love the drama. We love seeing people work it out, right? So it's such a big part of our existence to overcome these things, to figure these things out, to puzzle them, to become stronger because of them. Because if you don't work through an obstacle and come out on the other end, then you also won't feel the satisfaction or the high of an accomplishment. So seeing the balance in experiencing these obstacles and knowing that, oh my God, I know this is hard right now, but the moment I overcome this, life is going to get so much better. Because for me, every single obstacle, every single phase of life that I have been through, all the obstacles that I have experienced have always brought me to a better place, to a higher version of myself. If I hadn't experienced all the obstacles that I have, then I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And you can take it to a deeper level if you want to start understanding the soul's path and everything. Our whole entire journey is for us to overcome the one biggest obstacle or block or lesson in this life so that we can up level and then achieve a new level of consciousness. So literally overcoming obstacles and upgrading and up leveling is literally our entire soul path, soul pull. It revolves around all of that at the end of the day, right? That's the beauty of an obstacle. Like, I mean, even think about having a baby, right? That in itself, for example, is an obstacle. But when you get on the other end and you've created a whole another life, like the beauty of that obstacle, and that's what I'm trying to show you here, is that these obstacles seem hard, tough, horrible, and everything when you're going through it. I mean, believe me, sometimes also just now, literally, I have my dog barking. There's something in my eye. I'm like, I have to get ready for this and that. And it feels like a constant like obstacle course that I'm racing. But after I've done all of this and I've been able to experience this, and I'm grateful because he added a sense of how do I say that, dynamicness, a different dimension to this podcast, which made it more like relatable and understandable for you guys to listen to this, that, you know, all of us are going through this stuff. And that is the beauty of these things, because without these obstacles, without these difficulties, life would just be kind of boring, to be honest, if you really truly think about it. And I do understand that some of us are experiencing extremely difficult obstacles. I know I've been through some of them, and then it's a little harder and bleaker to look through that. But when you can be grateful for even the hardest of hardest obstacles in your life, and you can see the beauty of that obstacle or that difficulty, that is when you have full power. Because if you can think of anybody in your life that you've struggled with, or something that you've gone through that is so incredibly difficult and traumatic, and you can look at that experience and go, you're grateful for that experience, and see what you've learned from it, then you are cracking the code. Then you are starting to realize what this is all for, because everything that is happening to you in your life is happening for you. And when you can start seeing how literally even the worst of worst things happening to you is happening for you, when you can start seeing that, that's when you have full power and full control. When you can start seeing the balance in literally everything, then nothing can faze you anymore. And when nothing can faze you anymore, don't you think you are the most powerful person? Because then you realize that everything is always happening in your favor. And that's when you can start focusing on the law of focus. So basically, the law of focus is like what you focus on, you get more of. So if you focus on how everything is happening to you and it's bad and you're struggling, then what are you going to get? You're going to get more struggle. You're going to get more things happening to you. You're going to have less control. You're going to feel like a victim, and you're not going to be able to, you know, overcome these obstacles in the same way that if you would when you looked at everything happening for you. Shifting that perspective and looking at obstacles as a upgrade and a way to overcome them, and being grateful for them and seeing the perfection in them gives you full power, because that means you have full control over everything that is happening. And when you can look at these obstacles and go and ask yourself, why is this happening for me right now? How am I going to upgrade from this obstacle and overcoming this obstacle? That's when you truly start upgrading yourself, because then you are in full control. You are in full control of everything happening. Because you are. And that's another topic that I debated on talking about today, which we'll probably get into. Everything that you are experiencing in your life is created by yourself. And that might be, but people who are drawn to this podcast will understand that concept. But everything that is happening to you in your life is created by you. It's created by you for you to grow and overcome these things. So these obstacles that you're experiencing in your life, or as we'll talk about reflections and go deeper into that topic, they are all happening for you. You are creating them. And you are creating them because the universe, your higher self, source, everybody, you are here to upgrade and up level. And without overcoming these things, there is no upgrading and up-leveling, because what are you upgrading from, and how are you upgrading when there's nothing to overcome, right? If you just have a game and there's no goal, then there's no levels to overcome. There's no bosses to fight. Then it's just a game of being. And I think we all want more than that, because otherwise we wouldn't be so hungry to grow. We wouldn't be so hungry to accelerate. We wouldn't be so hungry to become the best versions of ourselves. We wouldn't be so hungry to upgrade our bodies, to upgrade our life, to upgrade our relationships if we were just okay being. If you're here and you're listening to this, I know for a fact that you are here for more. You are here to expand yourself, to expand your dreams. So next time you're experiencing an obstacle or a hardship, I want you to start realizing that this is happening for you. This is your moment to shine and work through it. And when you're on the other end, you'll be so happy because this obstacle was there to help you excel and accelerate your life and get you to where you want to be. So even we can talk about this in a different manner. When I do healings, when I work with clients and things like that, when they are ready to upgrade, up level, a lot of the time, things are going to come into your path that are going to make it more difficult. Even with me, I was like, wait, I did a healing on this. This should make my life so much easier. But then one of my fellow intuitives was like, yeah, but Manouk, you got to understand that because you did a healing on it, now the universe is going to throw you things so that you overcome them, so that you can be in the space that you need to be in to hold what you want to achieve. Because that's another that I almost forgot, and that just came to me now. That's the beauty of this. If you wanted something and you were ready to hold that thing, be able to contain that in your energy. So a family, success in your business, a dollar amount per month or in total, right? Or some sort of success. If you were ready to hold that energetically and you were ready for that in your life, you would have it right now. If you don't have it right now, that means there are still some things and some growth that you need to make to be able to hold that thing, to be able to contain that thing in your energy, to be able to live that life. And that is what obstacles are for, to get you ready to hold whatever you need to hold. So let me actually think. For my business, for example, if I wanted to make X amount, I need to be prepared for that, right? So if I want to start making $1 million a month, for example, right? Totally out there. I want to, or maybe not. If I wanted to start making 1 million a month, then I need to have systems in place to be able to hold that, to be able to contain that amount of members and clients, to make sure that my systems are all running in that direction, to make sure that I have enough employees to also help me do all of this stuff. You know, you have to have, and my energy needs to be able to contain that as well. And if I didn't go through all the obstacles to grow my business to where it is now, then I wouldn't be able to hold the amount of members and clients that I have now. And then if I didn't keep working on that and start seeing these obstacles and seeing, oh yeah, this is why I'm not there yet, I wouldn't be able to contain what I desired. And that is why these obstacles exist. These obstacles exist to get you ready for everything that you desire. So every time you work through an obstacle, start seeing that as a sign that you are getting one step closer to achieving your dream life. Because when you overcome these obstacles, you are one step closer to being the person that you are meant to be in this lifetime. Stepping into that person, because you already are that person, but stepping into the energy of that person to be where you want to be. So that was my massive rant on obstacles, with a little bit of an interruption from my little doggy who is now napping in the corner and is probably going to go back to protecting our house in a second. Thank you so much for being in this podcast with me today. Let me know what you think of the podcast in the comments. Also, feel free to comment and email us if you have any ideas on any topics you want me to start discussing in these podcasts. And remember to join the free membership if you want. We have some amazing free content in there, as well as live Q&As every other week that you can start joining. And I'd love to see you there. And if you want some more information, or you want to up level, you want to upgrade, you're ready for some more advanced tools, then just email me at info@nukesgoddessacademy.com. Thank you so much for being here today. And I hope you have a lovely day, evening, night. Day, evening, night, afternoon. Thank you so much for listening to You Can Call Me Goddess. I am so happy that you joined us in this show today. If you feel like this podcast gave you any sort of life change or value, then share it with someone you think would also get a lot of value out of it, because maybe it could just be that one thing that changes that person's life. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a nice rating below or in the show, because we would love to expand more on topics that you enjoy and keep this podcast up and running. Anyways, thank you, beautiful, and I hope to see you in the next podcast.